NCX Group, the leader in information security consulting, is proud to present Secure 2020. Here now is NCX founder and CEO, Mike Fitzpatrick.
I think that leads me to one of my next questions. One of the other things that jumped out at me as I was looking through the research was only 46% of IT professionals have deployed continuous monitoring. I found that interesting and how that breaks down, because it's a little different than what we see on the assessment side. In most cases, probably 90 or 95% have not deployed some form of security event monitoring. And I was just interested in your thoughts on that research point.
Well, I think some of it may be terminology. So a lot of times people talk about continuous monitoring. When you kind of dig into it, it's really more about continuous collection, and they really don't have a good handle on what to do with the data that they've collected. So I see a lot of people that, unless they're legally required to review a log or required to report on certain types of activity like records access, that a lot of the information could get ignored just because there's so much of it. And so I think one of the things, like in the federal space, we're seeing a shift where rather than calling it continuous monitoring, they're now starting to talk about it as continuous diagnostics and mitigation, which I like a lot better because it's more about the outcome than about the activity. So I'd rather not get people off the hook by saying, yeah, of course we're monitoring, we're collecting all this data. The question for me is, okay, and what are you doing with it, and is it relevant to your business, and do you have the means to identify and respond to things that are threatening your business? And, so I think the other part of it, too, is that when you start thinking about holistic monitoring, there's a difference between people who have maybe a point product to monitor for, malware, or to monitor for, kind of data exfiltration. Is that really monitoring? And, I think one of the challenges we have here is that how did people interpret that question? And what do they mean when we talk about continuous monitoring? I have an idea, you have an idea. I think part of this is how do we level set the expectation when we talk about a specific security activity, that people have a consistent understanding of it and that it is relevant to improving security.
No, I agree. It's a challenge, and a lot of times, and you've been at this a long time as I have, you can have a number of terms in our industry that could mean four different things. Just take managed security services, for example. That could be easily four different topics. But no, I think that you're right. I think that probably needs to be a little bit more defined. In a lot of cases, we've actually seen instances where companies have gone out and they've purchased some form of event management and have deployed it and get it in, and they realize, oh my God, the amount of noise that's coming from the device, I don't have the staff to deal with this. And rather than figuring it out, finding some extra help, they end up shutting it off, tuning it out, and unplugging it. And that's not what you want to see either, because the value of the information from a security standpoint in managing your security network, your security components of it, the value of that data and that security event management is priceless as far as who's knocking at the door and who's trying to gain access, and not to mention the audit trail if something did happen.
Thank you for listening to Secure 2020, presented by NCX Group. The latest updates on information security can be found at ncxgroup.com. NCX Group can also be found on Facebook and Twitter as NCX Group. Thanks for listening.